Hello, all you Biconics wrestling nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Friday Night Faction review for WWE Smackdown. I am your host, Mikey, and as you can see, I am going to be rocking this one solo this week, but fear not because this was a really fun Smackdown in my opinion. I am super excited to have my co-host join me again in 2 weeks, so there is no Smackdown this upcoming week due to the holidays. But when we come back in 2 weeks, we will be reviewing the New Year's Revolution edition of SmackDown, which I'll go over the matches that we have set for that at the end of this review. But without further ado, let's jump into this week's SmackDown for Friday, December 22nd, 2023. SmackDown kicks off after their normal recap package of what happened last week, and we see AJ Styles in the ring. Now, before I get into his promo, I will say that AJ is dressing up like his lone wolf gimmick that he had back in TNA all those years ago, and I'm excited that this is making a resurgence on WWE television. It's going to be good. But AJ Styles basically claims that he doesn't care about LA Knight and Randy Orton. He wants to get his hands on Roman Reigns. And AJ does have a bit of a claim to that, given the fact that when AJ was written off TV, he was attacked by the Bloodline, and he was sidelined for a couple months, and now he's out for revenge. So that makes sense in my opinion. Before AJ can get another word in, LA Knight's music hits, and LA comes to the ring. He first berates AJ for getting the cheap shot in, but then he moves past AJ saying that he should be the one to face Roman Reigns because he's got unfinished business with Roman, and if the Bloodline didn't interfere in his match at Crown Jewel, LA Knight would have won that championship match, and so he deserves another opportunity at Roman. At this point, Randy Orton's music hits and Randy comes down to the ring and he agrees that AJ and LA Knight have some claim to face Roman Reigns, but Randy wants to get at Roman because the Bloodline took everything from him and they sidelined him for almost a year and a half, and he wants the first bite at it. So the three men begin to argue as to who should be the one to face Roman Reigns next. And at this point, General Manager Nick Aldis comes out and says that he believes that all three of them have a legitimate claim. And so what he's going to do is at the New Year's Revolution edition of SmackDown is going to be a triple threat number one contenders match between Randy, LA Knight, and AJ Styles. And the winner will go on to face Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at Royal Rumble in January. Listen, I am excited for this. I cannot wait to see. I think this match is going to be great in 2 weeks. And I will give my predictions at the end of who I think is going to win. From here, we cut to commercial, and when we come back, we jump into our first match, which is a Holiday Havoc match. So this seems the team of Bianca Belair, Shotzi, Zelina Vega, and Michin taking on all four members of Damage Control, which is Bayley, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and your WWE Women's Champion, Io Sky. Knew this match wasn't going to be a technical masterpiece, but because it's a glorified street fight, but this was a fun match. I think some of my highlights is Io was literally jumping off anything and everything, which was great. I also really appreciated as Asuka and Kairi were going to open the boxes by the ring. We get the return of our spooky witches, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. They did a modified Sister Abigail, I want to say, finisher on the girls. And that knocks Asuka and Kairi Sane out of commission. Bayley is nowhere to be found. And what surprised me is that Michin, after doing a swanton onto Io through the table, picks up the victory and she pins the Io. And I was surprised that Michin got it because anyone knows I'm a big fan of Mia Yim. She did a small stint in Impact over the summer, which I really enjoyed. She was great. And since coming back to WWE after being released, she really hasn't done much, but it's really nice to see that now underneath Triple H booking, Michin is actually picking up wins. and I'm excited to see what the future lies for her, which we'll talk about at the end of this review. Overall, I thought this was a really fun match. Oh, I also gotta mention Shotzi's like chair like maneuvers, jumping off the chair, using it as a weapon. Like, Shotzi's crazy, and she was great. The only complaint I had about this match is Zelina Vega wasn't seen much in this match. She did get misted by Asuka, but even still, I would have liked to see more of her. But I know that plans have changed because I think Charlotte was supposed to be in one of these spots. But because Charlotte is now out for 9 months with an injury, that kind of throws plans for a loop. And I'm wondering to see what happens and specifically where Bianca's going to land for WrestleMania. Because I think it was supposed to be Bianca versus Charlotte at WrestleMania. But since that's not going to happen, I'm interested to see what plans are going to be for Bianca to have, as well as the rest of our face team here with Shotzi and Zelina. We cut backstage. First, we see Jimmy Uso with Solo Sikoa and basically tells Solo there's a lot of things that can happen in the ring, but you need to make an audible call and you need to get the job done tonight as you face AJ Styles, which then leads into a backstage segment with Roman Reigns sitting on the couch, and then Paul Heyman comes in, and basically Roman Reigns is not happy that Nick Aldis has done all this, and he needs to talk to him immediately. So he sends Paul Heyman to go get Nick Aldis so he can have a chat with the SmackDown general manager. From here, we have my personal match of the night. This is for the NXT North American Championship, where we have Butch challenging champion Dragon Lee for this match. Listen, when you just let Butch go and just let him do him, man, he is so good. And when he's paired up with Dragon Lee, who is just equally as good, this match was baller. Oh my gosh. It had everything that I wanted. It had Butch's joint manipulation and his to the ground style of wrestling. It had Dragon Lee do the high flying stuff and the quick move sets, transitional moves, and takedowns. Ultimately, Butch does lose, and Dragon Lee picks up the victory and is still your NXT North American champion. But my goodness, this match was phenomenal. I really enjoyed this match. This was my match of the night. And honestly, Dragon Lee is just that dude. I honestly think for the longest time, WWE has been doing anything and everything they can to try to find their next Rey Mysterio. They've done everything from trying to train people in the luchador style, and then they brought big names such as Sin Cara, Kalisto, all that. And unfortunately, those guys didn't work out. But it seems that WWE has found their next Rey Mysterio, and I say that as a compliment, in Dragon Lee, which makes sense because Dragon Lee knows Rey Mysterio. They've worked together on the independent scene way back in the day. And I honestly think that with more time, Dragon Lee has the in-ring talent. His charisma is there as a character. I'm not including his mic work only because since English is not his first language, I do appreciate that in NXT, Shawn Michaels lets Dragon Lee cut the promos in half and half, so Spanish and in English, kind of like how Triple H is letting Shinsuke cut his promos in Japanese, which is amazing. But I honestly think Dragon Lee's future in WWE is bright, and the rocket has been strapped onto Dragon Lee, and he has already shown that he is going to be a valuable asset for WWE. I just hope that they continue to treat him well, and that I would love to see him eventually, when he's worked up to it, to have a main title run with the main championship belt. I know a lot of people say that the luchadors should only be relegated to the Intercontinental Championship or the United States Championship, but honestly, I just think that he can have a main championship run. Now, I don't know what that entails and what's going to happen, but we shall see what goes down with all that. So this should be interesting to see. From here, we then get our second half of the Roman Reigns backstage promo, where he is joined by Nick Aldis. Let me tell you, this segment was really good, and it was probably one of my favorite backstage segments the whole entire night. Roman Reigns, being the tribal chief that he is, tries to intimidate Nick Aldis by saying, "Hey man, I didn't appreciate that you made this triple threat or me defending my title at Royal Rumble without coming to me. I'm the tribal chief. I make these decisions. You should have came to me first." And Nick Aldis said, "All right, hold my beer. Disrespectfully, Roman Reigns, I'm the general manager. I call the shots. And honestly, I don't care." Roman Reigns tries to threaten Nick Aldis by saying he's going to take care of him like he did some other superstars. And Nick Aldis just basically says, get over yourself. I'm general manager and I welcome the challenge. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, I had said this in my last Friday Night SmackDown review. I love the fact that Nick Aldis is a general manager that just gives no Fs whatsoever. He's not intimidated. He's not scared with anybody. He manages to throw Adam Pearce under the bus too, which again continues that rivalry between the general managers, which I'd love to see. I would be very interested to see if Nick and Roman Reigns have a match at some point, because of the fact that Nick Aldis, as we know, can wrestle. I would be interested, even if it was just a one-off. Roman versus Nick Aldis would be very interesting, but man, this is so good. This backstage segment had everything I wanted, and things are turning for Roman Reigns. Before he was in charge, he got to run roughshod all over SmackDown, but now with a change in general managers and the fracturing of his bloodline faction, everything is slowly coming down for Roman Reigns. Jimmy's messing up. Solo is going to be looked to take over. The eventual betrayal is going to be beautiful. Jay is on a different brand now. You have 3 potentially over wrestlers in Randy Orton, LA Knight, and AJ Styles to go against Roman Reigns, take his title. This by far set up multiple stories, not just for what we're going to be telling leading into New Year's Revolution, but as well as what seems to be the path to WrestleMania slowly taking shape, and I love this so much. From here, we get our first United States Championship semifinal match, which sees Kevin Owens taking on NXT's Carmelo Hayes. Listen, I already knew that Kevin Owens was going to win this, but this match did wonders for both men. Obviously, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. It was your standard match. I thought it was pretty good. Melo don't miss, but Kevin Owens goes in and ends up picking up the victory here. Carmelo is still lying on the floor. Kevin Owens helps him up and then leaves the ring. I'm telling you, man, this match continues to show that even in loss, if you book people the right way, especially in a tournament setting like this, you can still make them great. Kevin Owens has secured a spot in the finals, so that is going to be really exciting. But more importantly, this showing, even though it was only 2 rounds for Carmelo Hayes, his stock continues to rise in WWE. And I would not be surprised post Stand and Deliver in April if we move Carmelo to the main roster. I think him and Braun Breaker, as I said, I think both of them are ready to move to main roster at this point. At least Carmelo has a storyline in NXT with Trick Williams, but Braun Breaker has been spinning his wheels a little bit. So I honestly think that it's time to move both of them to main roster post WrestleMania. I think Carmelo should be on SmackDown, and I think Braun should be on Raw. I think that's where they should go. And honestly, I would love to see that for both of them. But man, Carmelo Hayes' stock continues to rise. He had an excellent showing in this tournament, even though it was 2 matches. And Kevin Owens is going to be fighting in the finals, so I can't complain about that. From here, we see AJ Styles getting ready for his match, where Michin comes up and welcomes AJ back, as well as the OC of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Essentially, the OC asks AJ if they're good. AJ looks at them being petty as all heck, says, "I don't know, are we?" and then walks off. Again, continuity for me matters when it comes to professional wrestling. Yes, I love the athleticism, that's the entertainment portion of it, but of course I even love the goofiness of the storylines, and continuity is key. Because AJ was having issues with the OC before he got jumped by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso a couple months ago, and now playing into the lone wolf gimmick that he had in TNA, he's upset with them. So Will the OC and AJ repair the relationship? Is AJ going to continue to go off on his own? We shall see what happens. I'm interested to see where the story goes from here. And again, I'm just happy to see everyone involved back on television, which is great. Okay, now this next segment, say what you will about Karrion Kross and how he's been booked on the main roster so far. We can all agree it hasn't necessarily been the best. I like Karrion. I feel like I'm one of the few Biconics boys that do Karrion Kross. It's just that his presentation has not necessarily been the best, but I will say, once again, WWE hooked me in, hook, line, and sinker with this segment. Him and Scarlett are talking, and they talk about everything on all the feeds that he's been in, whether it's loosely just would be this like from behind the shadows type of faction. And at the end of this, we get a silhouette of 3 individuals who are looking to join Scarlett and Karrion Kross. And you cannot tell me, we all know who it is, the Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering. The 3 of them are going to be joining Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Listen, I don't think they're debuting until into the new year. So I think at New Year's Revolution, we're going to get some sort of introduction to them. They're going to make their debut. Woo! Listen, for the longest time, we have known that the Authors of Pain and Paul Ellering have re-signed with WWE, but have been waiting on creative plans, and it looks like they're pairing with Karrion Kross. Listen, I am so excited for this. I think this is going to be interesting. I hope they do it right, because for me personally, I love Karrion Kross and I will always support him, but I feel like this is the last chance for WWE to make fans interested in Karrion Kross. And as we know, Triple H loves a good faction, so by having this faction be on Smackdown, it would be really fun to see them go against the Bloodline and everybody else we got on Smackdown. So I'm not going to complain. We shall see if my predictions end up being correct and they debut at New Year's Revolution. We get our second semifinals match in the U.S. Championship Tournament, which sees Bobby Lashley taking on Santos Escobar. The Street Profits are out in the ring accompanying Bobby Lashley. I thought this was a pretty good match. It's really difficult to pair Bobby, who's usually a power person, versus Santos, you're the cruiserweight luchador. But as always, and I figured as much because as one of the 2 people here on the Biconics that reviews NXT, a certain tag team has been missing from NXT since their match at Halloween Havoc, and sure enough, we had 2 masked men jump the Profits and help Santos secure the victory. And as the 3 of them are celebrating in the win, it is revealed that the masked men are Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, Los Lotharios. So it seems that Legado del Fantasma is going to be built up again, this time with Los Lotharios and Santos. So Santos is going on to the final, and it's going to be him versus Kevin Owens in the finals at New Year's Revolution in 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about that. I'm happy to see Los Lotharios on television. They're on the main roster now. So I'm very excited to see where this new iteration of Legado del Fantasma goes with them. Backstage, we see Butch having an interview talking about even though he lost the match, he gave it everything, and Dragon Lee brought it too. And Butch is interrupted by Pretty Deadly, who are singing Christmas carols. They basically berate Butch since Ridge Holland ditched him a couple weeks ago, and Butch then decides to decimate him, but Pretty Deadly fight back, and Nick Aldis and some WWE officials come in to break up the fight. Nick Aldis tells Butch at this point if he wants a tag team match, he's going to need to find a tag team partner, and he will get his match at New Year's Revolution, so he has 2 weeks to find his partner. I'm excited for that match, and honestly, I think his partner might be Tyler Bate. That's who I'm thinking this mystery partner is going to be. We've heard reports that Tyler Bate is ready for main roster, and what better way to put him on main roster than to pair him with Butch. This is going to be really good. And I'm just happy to see more of Pretty Deadly. I think they're a phenomenal tag team. Yes, they are comedic heels, but I think a lot of people do not talk about how great they are in-ring as well, and I think Pretty Deadly is so good. From here, we get a video package of Logan Paul, your United States champion, talking about basically reading Kevin Owens and Santos Escobar for filth, and says that it doesn't matter who's going to win because he's not losing this championship which is fine, it's whatever. We then get to the main event of this evening, which sees AJ Styles take on Solo Sikoa. I thought this was a fun main event. It didn't last too long because AJ Styles does pick up the victory here, but that is because Roman Reigns comes in and decks AJ Styles and beats him up, so AJ wins by disqualification, which then prompts Randy Orton and LA Knight to come down. There's just a whole brawl that breaks out. All three men are like fighting. They're putting hands on each other. Roman Reigns is like not having it. And just this big old brawl is what happens as SmackDown goes off the air for this week. So before I get into my rating for this week, we did get confirmation of some of the matches that we're getting at New Year's Revolution for SmackDown in 2 weeks. It is going to be this triple threat between Randy Orton, LA Knight, and AJ Styles, where the winner will go on to face Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Championship at Royal Rumble. So I'm excited for that. Honestly, it's got to be Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton is going to be facing Roman. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it for me. I think Randy is winning this one. We also get confirmation that Io Sky will be defending her WWE Women's Championship against Michin, since Michin pinned her in that Holiday Havoc match. Io's not losing this title, but I hope they are given time, and I think this is potential to be a sleeper hit, and I can't wait. We're going to get Butch and a mystery partner versus Pretty Deadly, which is going to be fun. I think that mystery partner, as I said before, is going to be Tyler Bate, and I think Tyler and Butch are going to win. And then finally, we're getting the finals of the United States Championship Tournament, which sees Kevin Owens and Santos. I think Kevin Owens is winning this one because at Royal Rumble, I think Logan versus Kevin Owens is going to be exciting. And I love Santos, but I think Kevin Owens is so over with the crowd, especially since Royal Rumble is a big 4 pay-per-view. Having Kevin Owens be in a marquee match like this against Logan Paul for the United States Championship, I think is going to be awesome. So now we've come to the review portion of Friday Night Faction. I'm actually going to give this week's SmackDown a 3.75 out of 5. Oh wait, no, we use the mini scale here. So I'm actually going to give this a 7.5 out of 10 minis. I thought this was a really fun episode of SmackDown. Of course, this was taped 2 weeks ago because they did a double taping last week because of the holidays. And even though I had some nitpicks, like I wanted more Zelina Vega in the Holiday Havoc match, the pacing was pretty good. There was a lot of good wrestling here. And even though nothing was spectacular per se, what they did this week on SmackDown is what I've wanted for the last couple of episodes. Is now we have storylines building not only to New Year's Revolution, but also the long game of what we're building towards Royal Rumble and eventually to WrestleMania as well. So I'm going to give this one a 7.5. That concludes this week's episode of Friday Night Faction Review. As I mentioned at the beginning, there will be no Friday Night SmackDown review this week due to the holiday season, but we will be back with myself and my other 2 co-hosts for Friday Night Faction to cover SmackDown's New Year's Revolution specialty in 2 weeks. If you enjoyed this review and want to check out more of our stuff, make sure to hit that bell notification, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check us out. We got a lot of stuff here. We cover all the weekly shows and the pay-per-views for everything. If you want to know when these videos go live, make sure to follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod. And of course, if you want to hear more unhinged wrestling opinions, make sure to subscribe to the Viconics Wrestling Podcast, where we're a bit more unhinged. For myself and the rest of the Biconics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and stay Biconic, you beautiful bastards. We'll see you for the next review, but until then, see you later.